Why do we collect video games? I've started my own YouTube channel about 3 years ago, and the biggest draw for me was watching other people post their latest pickups or their collection videos. And at the time, it got me to spend a bit of money in crazy amounts, and at random, I just bought a bunch of video games for a reason or another. And years later, like I think it was the beginning of 2013, I actually sold a large portion of my video game collection on eBay simply because I had absolutely no attachment to those games per se. The reason I'm talking about this is that I recently went over my GameCube collection and I was really surprised at how much memories I got just by looking at those. My GameCube days are probably my best gaming days. I was in my prime back then when it comes to gaming because I was still in high school. I didn't have a job. All I had was like school, and then I came back home and played GameCube. And I had a lot of friends who were gamers too back then. So basically, all we did or during our weekends most of the time was play video games. And it was a blast. And because of that, I have an impression amount of GameCube games in my collection over the years. And looking at all of them, every single one of them, I remember what I played, where I bought it. I could probably, I have about 80 games for my GameCube, but I could probably list them in the chronological order of when I got them. So I thought that was pretty impressive because when I look at my other video game collection, I can't say the same. I have a lot of sealed games for the other systems, but then I look at my GameCube collection, I only have like 2 or 3 sealed games. And most of them I've completed, and every single one of them I have like great memories with. So that's what inspired me to do this little series of videos. And the first game I'm gonna talk about is actually Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. And the reason for that is, like I mentioned before, for my other system, there's a lot of games that are still sealed that I've never actually experienced. And this is actually one of the few GameCube games that I wasn't sealed, but I never really played. I remember when I bought it, the reason I bought it was that I went at the local EB Games back in the day, and they actually had the game on the shelf. And anytime I saw a brand new game sealed at an EB Games, I had trouble buying them back then, especially since Pokemon XD wasn't actually released yet. They actually broke the retail street date on it, so I just bought it right away. And when I got home, I put it in my GameCube, I pressed power, and I looked at the beginning intro, and I shut it down, and that was it. And I've watched a lot of single player Pokemon videos. That's what inspired me to go back and play Pokemon Pearl and got a review for you guys. And a lot of people actually like the GameCube RPGs because Pokemon XD actually had a prequel which was called Pokemon Coliseum, which I never actually played, and I'm gonna have to at some point after having played this. And they're actually full-on 3D RPG adventures, which is strange because if you know me, I always thought that Nintendo had a missed opportunity by never going 3D with Pokemon, and they finally did this last year with Pokemon X and Y. But these games were pretty much spot on. They're not actually the same as portable Pokemon Adventure, but they're still full-fledged 3D RPGs, and I still don't understand why I didn't give them a proper chance back in the day. And so I just completed it a few hours ago. It's actually a pretty long game. It took me around 17 hours to complete. Well, it's not. It's about average length, I'd say, for an RPG. And it was pretty good, I'd say, for if you like Pokemon games, that definitely give this game a go. It's well worth it. Maybe not if you don't like the Pokemon series because it does get pretty repetitive, especially during the last 3-4 hours, because all you do in this game is battle, battle, and battle. Because you don't catch wild Pokemon, you don't trade with other trainers, you don't battle online and stuff like that like you do with Pokemon X and Y, so there's not much reason to play the game besides the main player game, and it's simply battles, 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 battles. And the catching wild Pokemon, they added this for XD, and it's not really as innovative as the Game Boy games because all you do is you have to you have to put bait in certain areas and then go back to the main game, and at a certain point you'll get flagged and say that there's a Pokemon at this location, so you have to stop everything you're doing, exit out. Sometimes you're way into a dungeon, so it can take 50 minutes to exit out. Go there, and hopefully it's a new Pokemon, because there's only like 10 different varieties you can catch during those events, and you'll always get a Zubat after Zubat. After a while, I just didn't bother with that system anymore. But there's a lot of good stuff about this game. Basically, the entire game is entirely double battles. I've never played a single player Pokemon game that was only doubles battles, and I really, really liked it. The only difference between the Pokemon games and the GameCube one in the double system is that when one of your Pokemon gets KO'd or faints, you have to replace it right away with another Pokemon, and the same goes with the AI trainer, so you don't have to wait till the end of the turn. That means that that Pokemon that goes right into the battle can get damage right away instead of being immune until the start of the next turn. And there's this unique concept that was introduced in Colosseum but a bit refined in here, where you can capture shadow Pokemon, and there's basically this evil corporation. Instead of being Team Rocket, it's Team Cypher in this one, which creates shadow Pokemon, which basically is a Pokemon that its heart gets closed in, like it's cliched a bit, and they basically are powerhouse machines, and it works really well in the storyline aspect. This game actually has some pretty interesting characters and a pretty good storyline for a kids game. Honestly, you can't compare this to other RPGs of this generation like Shadow Hearts or Xenoblade, not Xenoblade but Xenosaga, and even Tales of Symphonia. But if you think about a kids game, it has a pretty decent storyline, I'd say. But the shadow Pokemon, they don't really make sense gameplay wise, because although every single attack is super effective against any type of Pokemon, they don't learn any new attacks and they don't level up. So basically, their system of Team Cypher would be to get a Pokemon that say it's level 15, it would stay level 15 during the entire. So I don't care if that Pokemon is super effective against my Pokemon. If my Pokemon is level 50, it's still gonna kick that level 15's Pokemon's ass. So you see, it's not really. It doesn't really make sense when you think about it, but for the storyline, the guys always have like a similar level cap, so it doesn't matter. But overall, I was really, really surprised. It's a pretty great. I wouldn't say it's a fantastic game, but it's a great overall RPG, and one I would recommend to any GameCube owners, and especially Pokemon fans. So that was my quick look at Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and be prepared for plenty more, as I'll take you through my GameCube collection.